Test, test, test. Test, test, okay. Okay, let's see. Oh, there I am. Okay. Welcome everybody. Happy Saturday to you. I think this is a little close. Alright, that didn't work. Okay. Hey everybody. I got my soda water here. Okay, DK can't make it. She's got to protest. Fight the good fight. I hear ya. Protest and voting are two things that we're fortunate to still have, hopefully, in this country. To express your voice, stand on your ideals, whatever they are. All are welcome. Well, almost all are welcome here. Not the hate ones. But anyway, I am flying solo today here in the studio, and I am open to suggestions. I was thinking balance. I don't know if y'all. I know we had a little bit of delay with the chat, but I'm thinking balance today might be cool to do. I don't know what you guys think, but let me know if you have a request for a vibe, a pace, a technique, or whatever. I'm feeling pretty open, feeling pretty good. I've had a pretty good week. I will say that, well, actually, I don't know if we need to talk about that. Balance. Okay, cool. So, see, that's why I did that guy. See what I mean? Suggestive backgrounds. Up. This may be a problem. Balance sounds good. Okay, sweet. All right, let's do some balance then. Okay. And thank you all for... Oh, it's not going to last. All right, we may have to do a set repair. Balance. Okay, balance. All right, sweet. Cheers to that. Yeah, so we'll continue to celebrate our 5th anniversary. It was cool to have Brecken here, and I don't know if you saw Brecken's. She did a class where I think it was just me and her, but she wound up, maybe it was me and her and Ann, but she wound up teaching some of her old school moves. and it turned out to be a lot of fun, and she did a good job. So anyway, Brecken is no longer in town. She lives on the other side of the world from me, in the United States. She lives in Portland. I live in North Carolina, so we are on opposite sides of this expansive country, and so I don't know when I'll see Brecken again, but we had good visits with her. There was a happy resolution. She made it public here on the stream that she was, here to get some dental work done. She got the dental work done. She hated it at first, and then she went back to the guy, and he was super cool about it, and said he would stay with her until he got it right, and he got it right, and so she's back off in Portland now, and happy. So the whole come to North Carolina for cheaper dental worked, and it was good to see her. I'm sure Anne's going to be sad that she's gone. She loves having Brecken around, but anyway, so maybe I'm a little okay. So anyway, let's get going. Yeah, we haven't heard this one in a while. All right, let me know if you have any issues with sound or anything like that, and we're just going to jump into it. And welcome everybody. I hope you're having a great Saturday. Audible breath in. Make sure. Test one. Yeah, okay, that's good. For most of my whole hoop life, I have seen hooping as a movement meditation. And as part of that big category, there are certain techniques that hit certain marks, that check certain boxes for how we're feeling, and sometimes those techniques, and when you put them into a practice, can have effects on you that go a lot further, that reach a lot more broadly into your life than you might realize, and balance is one of those for me. Balance is something that I kind of struggle with, to be honest. I tend to go all in on things sometimes at the expense of creating imbalance. Some of you might be going through a phase where your work and life balance is not balanced. Sometimes it happens in a relationship. You feel like you've lost your balance. Audible breath in. My belief is that balancing a hoop begins with balancing your body. It's one of the beautiful skills that pretty much every human body has. We can lift a leg and still stand for most of us. And there's all types of balance. There's a symmetrical balance, there's asymmetrical balance, there's rhythmic balance. Audible breath in. I encourage you as you sway or hoop to feel into your legs and to understand that balance starts at the feet. To bring your awareness to your feet. And see how that awareness influences your movement there, how it may open things up, may shine a new light. One of the biggest sort of life lessons that the technique of hoop balance taught me is that balance is a living thing. What I mean by that is that it's a constant effort. It requires micro movements of your hand or your arm or your head or wherever you're balancing. Sometimes in hooping and maybe life, sometimes the imbalance is created by forgetting that. Sometimes an imbalance is created by just something as simple as forgetting to check in with someone. Sometimes it's created by not reaching out as much as they reach out to you. Audible breath in. Okay. I'm wondering if y'all feel the same way, like if there's a hoop technique that just doing the technique, like regardless of just the greater category of hoop dance, but just doing the technique, you feel some sort of benefit that expands out into, that bleeds out into your everyday walking around life. I'd be curious. Balance has definitely been one of those for me. I grew up kind of before they were diagnosing ADD, so I got kind of post-declared that, and there were like really expensive tests that I never took, but all of my counselors in college believed that I had it, and if you have ADD or you feel like you have those tendencies or whatever, focus, anything that requires focus can make you kind of nervous inside because you're like, oh shit, this is what I'm not good at. But one of the things, if you have ADD, that you probably know this, I think this is pretty common knowledge now, but you have the ability to do something they call hyperfocus. And this is what throws people off about ADD people sometimes, is that they can focus kind of when they want to, and so it seems like, well, maybe they don't really have it because they're not focused on this conversation, but I just watched them stay focused on a project for 8 hours straight, and it's just a weird quirk of ADHD. But one of the things that I also have suffered with is anxiety. And so what I discovered through hooping and balance was that focus was this weird kind of antidote, or counterweight to my crazy head sometimes and spinning with all these thoughts. And so the art of balancing the hoop, or the practice of it, required focus, and I actually found that focus was helpful. and maybe it was hyper focus, I don't know, but like where I could just focus in on something, and every time my mind would want to like, but how are you going to pay this bill, but how are you going to do all that, I would just bring myself back into that focus, and just returning to that focus made it stronger. And it might seem hard to believe, but like it really helped me in regular life. It helped me in conversations. I was really, like, conversations when I'm not comfortable are really tough for me, and so I have to really focus. And it may sound like I'm selling snake oil, but Hoop Balance really helped me find that focus. All right, so let's talk balance. I'm just going to play something random and have the music sort of playing in the background today. So it may not be how you thought we were going to start this class, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about human balance first. And so what I want you to do, what we're going to play with first is kind of a slow point technique, but we're going to add balancing us into that technique. And the reason we're doing this is we're going to wake up the body a little bit, make up both sides of the body, make sure that our left and our right. All right, I think I'm a little. There we go. Now I'm in the middle. If you struggle with balance, and we actually do the same thing when we're doing hoop balance, but if you struggle with balance, like, not everybody's good at everything, it's good to just pick something stationary in the room that you're at and just stare at that thing and use that thing to help sort of hold you, right? So I'm going to just stare at my monitor right now. But it could be anything. I could stare at a door, I could stare at a door handle. And I invite you to go ahead and try this with me, because it will help you in your hoop balance to learn how that your eyesight, your gaze onto something actually helps anchor you to that thing, and it's a cool way. And what you're doing with your hoop right now won't matter. I'm kind of doing some of the 2-point smeary stuff that we were doing with Brecken. If you're flexible, you can try to bring your legs up and hold balances and things like that. I, sadly, am not that flexible. And what I like about balancing is balancing the human body, like standing on one leg, is the heart rate. Like, it wakes me up. Like, I'm already, feeling exertion, and we've been going for like 2 minutes. Audible breath in. Okay. I forgot to turn my ringer off. Okay, I'm assuming that the music is loud enough and you guys are with me despite the comments. And we've got the wrong music up. Unfortunately, every time I try to fix that, the screen dies. So we're gonna just chill out on that. All right, so let's talk balance. We'll start with the first trick, and we've done this one before. and that is this kind of door knocker balance. So we talk about this in point technique. We talk about this in point technique a lot, but if I were to cram a square into my hoop, then if I put my hands at the corners of the square, I get a lot of control there. Okay, cool. I get a lot of control there, and I can move the hoop around, and this is how we jump into some of our foldy stuff that we do. And so for this move, you're gonna put your hands in the corners. They don't have to be. There are no rules in hooping, right? There's just convention, but there's no rules. You can do whatever you want to. But I'm gonna have my hands here on this side, and I'm gonna swing the hoop out and drop my hands. And so I'm gonna swing it out, drop my hands. That's gonna cause the hoop to fully invert into a line, and then there's where I'm gonna find the balance. To help me find the balance as I swing the hoop out, it's like my eyes, it's like my vision will be like this invisible hand that will grip some part of the hoop. I'm going to pick the northernmost part of the arc, and I'm going to hold that there. So I'm here, I'm going to swing the hoop out, drop my hands, and then hold the hoop there. Now I'm doing this in point technique. You're totally allowed to. Of course, you're allowed to do anything you want to. Like I said, there's no rules, but some people will grip the hoop. Now, the reason that I think this can sometimes not be such a great thing is that a lot of times what you'll do is every time the hoop starts to fall, you'll grip it, and that will eliminate the fall. And even though you're just trying to keep the hoop up and have fun, you're kind of denying your body a chance to really learn balance. So I also think it looks cool, but when we flip out to the back of the hands, because there's no grippy thing that we can do, it makes our hands learn balance. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I come out. Oh, I think we might need a little more light. Maybe that's the problem. Here we go. So I'm here. There are something like 2,000 protests going on in the United States today, so I'm not sure how many people are here with me, but I'm imagining that they're mostly people that know how to balance that are watching right now. I don't, know if there's whatever, but if you have some experience with balance, then what I encourage you to do on this next move is when we go up into the door knocker, to play with shifting your hands a little bit, and you'll start to fold the hoop. You'll start to turn it on its axis. So if you're a beginner, you just want to get to here and hold this as long as you can. If you're intermediate or advanced, you can start to put a little bit of spin on the hoop like that. Actually, that was pretty cool. That might be something kind of advanced move to do too, is to swing the hoop out, put it in the catch, but then raise your hands, and your wrist, your hand underneath the hoop will kind of spin. So there's this. So this is what we have when we go into the door knocker, and you can get it all the way to this. Not doing too hot here. That's me doing a full turn. So what's happening there is anytime, like, this is a pivot that you can create while balancing. And it takes some time to get there, but it opens things up. What's cool about the door knocker is that you're sending it out, and then it's coming up, and you're finding that balance, right? And what I mean by that is, like, as it swings up, I drop my hand, I'm finding the balance. Now I got control of it. And so if you want to do a cool little circuit, Jackie's done this one with me before, but if you want to do, we probably all have done this one together, but when you want to do a circuit of just finding that balance, and what circuit training does, or in hooping, is it helps you like isolate one thing you're trying to find, and you just do it for a couple of minutes during a song, and you really start to find it. So here's the circuit for finding that balance. It's kind of like an Olay. So you're going to send the hoop up. I'm going to put it up here in the balance. Wait, excuse me. I'll put it up here in the balance, and then we'll swing it out here, put it up, and then swing it to my left. Falls down, comes up. Looks like from behind here. Oh, all right. Getting more aggressive. Down, up, down, up. You know, and if you're new to this and you want to just rock out and keep it balanced as long as you can, go for it, right? But then when you know, what we started doing in hooping, we'll talk about this later in class, but it's something called tipping. And so instead of like the hoop falling, after you get a kind of handle on your balance, you'll kind of know where it's falling, and then you can do cool stuff with it. So like if I'm here and I'm going up, I'm in the balance, it's going to tip forward, I'm going to like follow that balance or follow that swing created. Actually, before I get too far ahead of myself, let me add a few things here. Just in case any beginner is like a true beginner to balance is watching this. If you're struggling to even hold the balance up like this, which everybody does when they're learning it, you can play different things with your the height of your hands, like from the floor, and you might find that you'll get one height before you'll get another height. And so here's what I'm talking about. Some people like to hold the hoop kind of low, and the hoop is basically at their head, and they do this kind of like trained seal thing where they just bounce the hoop off their head to put it back in balance. Some people find balance by holding the hoop really high. See, my hands are basically, well, it looks like they're even like above my shoulders maybe, but they're high, they're up there. And then my pro tip for this is that if you, there's so many, like I was talking about in sway, there's so many little like micro movements that are happening that the folks at home that are watching you, they're not seeing that, but there's all these little micro movements. And so what you want to do is put your hands and arms in a position where they can make those little movements, those subtle movements. So you don't really want to lock anything. And so sometimes when people are learning balance, they'll send the hoop out and their arms are kind of staying locked like I am right now, right? And so my pro tip is to put any kind of bend into your arms at all. If you put any bend into your arms, it'll be a little bit like this, and it'll help you stabilize the hoop a little bit more. It's almost like having your legs in a sort of, bending your knees so that you're kind of ready to bounce, towards any direction. So when you send the hoop out, no matter what height it is, instead of locking your arms, put just a little bit of a bend in your arms. You might also, all right, I hope you guys are just going with me here. I'm going to make sure we're still all right. Oh, what I was going to say was where and how you balance the hoop, like what you're doing with your hand, won't really matter, because after a while, once you teach your body how to find the balance, it will hold it there, and then you can do anything you want to. And I'll show you. Okay, sweet. So let me just show you. I'm not showing off here. Okay, cool. I'm not showing off here. I just want to show you how unimportant, how you hold your hand is, okay? So I'm going to swing the hoop out. I'm going to do the door knocker. I'm going to swing it out. I've got the balance, and then I'm not going to look at the camera. I'm going to stare at my hoop. But do you see what I'm doing with my fingers? Like, I'm literally drumming the hoop right now with my fingers while in balance. I could balance it on one finger. I can balance pinkies, whatever. So, like, the really cool thing about the really cool thing about balance is, and what makes it so cool is that it's kind of like those rocks back there. Hopefully that's not AI and that's not a cheat code, but that person who put those there found the perfect balance. And believe me, with being on a beach, I'm sure there's a lot of wind. And so that balance is durable, right? I'm sure that there's small movements that are, allowed to happen and it's still staying in balance. So I'm here. You could try balancing on your forearms. Let's see. I haven't done this one in a while. That's kind of hard. I think the main hard thing about... There we go. Okay. So that is... In HoopPath, we refer to the front of this facing, everything from your meridian down facing forward is day, and sometimes we call that sun plane. And then everything behind you, like behind this meridian line, is night, or what we sometimes call the moon plane. So right now I am balancing the hoop. It is in parallel with my chest and shoulders here, right? So that's day. Now, bow, and these names are kind of weird. They're kind of backwards, but in HoopPath a long time ago, we called this plane here. So this is sun. We called this one bow. And I know it's kind of backwards. A bow would really be kind of like that, but I guess it would still be the bow plane, but so this is bow, and some people enjoy or are better at bow balances. So here's what a bow balance looks like. The hoop is in parallel, or sort of in parallel, with my arm holding it. So this is a bow balance here. If I switch hands, I bring it over here. And so then it doesn't have to be all the way on the side, it's more the plane. So like this is, let's see if I can help you out. This is bow balance, and this is bow balance. So this is bow balance, right? So there are two ways to do a bow balance, just like there are in all the, there's just like all the ways. There's a one-handed and a two-handed. If you want to try the two-handed, what I recommend is that you hold the hoop here, and I'm literally gripping it. I got samurai going right here, and I'm going to let it go, and then I'm going to hold the hoop kind of like I'm chalking a wheel, or I'm holding it from both corners. Like if you think, the more you think of your hoop as a wheel that rolls, the more it can help you with certain off-body techniques. So my hands right now, if you think about it, remember we talked about the corners of the hoop? My hands maybe aren't quite in the true corners of the hoop. Maybe this one might be a little bit low, but I'm leaning the front hand back into the back hand. Now, even though this is a two-handed technique, I've got a pretty good grip of, when I'm looking, we talked about, staring at here to hold the balance. When I'm doing a bow balance, some people, and in fact, in a lot of the flow world, you're taught to do this, there's nothing wrong with it, is to focus on the closest thing to you. that makes my eyes cross, it makes my head feel weird. So I look over here. So my focus point is there, right? And so when I'm in a balance like this, I mean, of course I'm having to look around this, but my focus is over there. Now, if I want to go into a 1 point, remember point of contact, so I just was doing 2-point balance. If I want to do 1 point, then that hand is going to go to the southernmost part of the arc, right? I'm going to keep my hand. I'm not going to, do any inappropriate salutes here. I'm going to keep my arm bent. This is a bow balance. And I will say that sometimes people will ask, like, is this easier with a heavier hoop or a bigger hoop? That kind of depends on you. Like, in the contact world, like, when people are doing the ball thing around their body, there's typically a truth expressed that the heavier the ball, the easier it is at first. So like a big hoop might be easier, but you're also holding this thing up. So sometimes a lighter hoop might be easier, but you play with that, Remember, there's no rules. There's no like rigor. Or at least there's no rigorous convention that you have to stick to. Things might work for you that don't work for me, and vice versa. Now, there are certain people watching on the stream or that check out the stream that I know are pretty good at balancing, right? If you've got it already. And you can start this process as a beginner, but what is happening with balance? One of the reasons that your balance fails, in mine, you've watched me lose the balance a bunch, is your arm's just getting tired. And so balance is actually a pretty good workout for building your arms. But if your arms start to get a little gassed today, that's fine. But you're pushing the hoop up, and that's really what will help stabilize your balance, is to think like, okay, I'm not like that rock. I mean, in physics, I am like that rock. Even though we can't see it, that rock is pushing up against the orange rock, right? But that can really help stabilize your balance, is to just imagine pushing up into it. And then what I was saying earlier about different levels of people watching the stream, if you want to grow your balance, or if you want to get it better, one trick is to just practice raising and lowering the hoop while in balance. I'll give you a pro tip that you totally don't have, this is life advice you totally don't have to take. But if you want to enjoy, my opinion, if you want to enjoy the full benefit of your body, and it will change how you think, is to develop both sides of the body, to sort of even out the dominance between one and the other. So I really recommend with balance that you do it with both hands. You'll be surprised if given the chance, your non-dominant hand, sometimes it may even be better, but it can grow. Like, you're not doomed to having one awesome side of your body and one really uncoordinated side of your body. Alright, I'm gonna lay off the mic and just let you guys listen to music, and you can fire questions away if you have them. this class is going by, and we actually started on time. I'll show you a couple of different things that you can do. If you want to start to develop an axle spin in balance, I haven't done this with you guys in a while. I haven't done it myself in a while, so hopefully I can still do this. But you can get into a bow balance and then tap the hoop and see if you can get it to roll around. I'll show you what I'm doing here. So one way you can do this is to hold it in balance, tap it. You could just grab it just to feel like what that feeling of the hoop spinning on your back of your hand feels like. Go with the other current. And with my bottom hand here, I'm just going to point. And the cool thing is that once you teach your body that it can actually do that move, that's where you can get into cool hand walking things. So I'm here. You see how I'm walking the hoop around? These are just if I keep doing it. Uh-oh. This is pretty advanced stuff, but I'm letting the hoop roll off of what you could essentially... Jesus. Every one of them, y'all. But I'm letting it... Sweet. Thank you, Charlies. I'm letting it roll off of what you could call like this point hand onto like my forearm or whatever. And this is how, and this is something I did learn from contact juggling. I've only taken a few classes with it, but they really affected my point and really helped my balance. And what they do, like when they're wanting to, let's say you want to roll a contact ball all across your body, what they recommend, it's super nerdy and geeky, but what they recommend is, or the teacher recommended to me, is that you put the hoop here, you put the ball here, learn to balance it there, balance it there, balance it there, balance it there, and so you kind of like take it step by step, learning each balance. I mean, you can jump ahead and go back, but okay, cool. So anyway, like I'm holding the hoop on my hand, but now it's kind of like on my wrist. Now I'm just letting it kind of roll down. For those of you that care, I have about an 8-foot ceiling in here. My hoop is 38 inches, so I can't go too high. Like, I don't want you guys to think I'm just really good at balance here. That is me pinning the hoop to the ceiling. If you have low ceilings, you can still learn to balance. You just have to learn to keep the hoop low. This is me doing hand walks. So what's happening with the hand walk, I'm just going to machine gun a bunch of technique at you here since we're almost done. This is really quick. I feel like, am I looking at the wrong time? No, it's definitely 1:50. All right. But if I want a hand walk, one hand comes up. I greet the hoop like this, and then it's going to go under the hoop. And then the key to the hand walk is that it'll then pitch back up. So your hand pitches back up like that. That creates a hill that rolls it back into the next hand, which is going to be doing the same thing. Now, I'll be honest with you, I am not. It's been about, I just realized it's probably been over a year since I've really worked on going the other direction on this. And I will have to, I'll show you me struggling so you understand I'm not too much of a prisoner of my own ego here. I can do it pretty well going this way, right? But I'm not quite as good. There we go. I mean, I can do it, but it's definitely less graceful, right? Now you can see I'm just adding in a little bit of 2-point and fold, and that's where like balance can work into anybody's flow. You can do it on its own all the time, or you can add it into your flow. Like if I was just doing some rolling, I could pull it up, put the hoop into a balance, intentionally tip it. That means let it fall in a way that I want to. Another little drill to pick up your balance is to try balance hops. They're not as hard as you think. I actually yeah, it is. Yeah, it really is. That's exactly right. Well, that's how it was expressed to me, and I definitely haven't seen any reason. What was that? Oh yeah, hops. So I'm here and I can hop to the other hoop. If the hoop starts to fall, just hop again. Nobody will know you're about to lose the hoop. These are kind of like hoppy hand walks. You can't really see it, but my hoop is kind of slowly, like a clock, is slowly rolling around. Feels good. I'm trying to like really reach. I'm greeting the hoop way up here with this roll, and it kind of feels good. Just like the door knocker is a swing into a balance, you can most definitely do a swing into, like, see how I'm holding the hoop in point here? I've got a swing going. It's a nice little way to get it to a balance, right? Or a body roll, right? Like, you don't have to commit to anything here in hooping. I can create a balance and then just keep raising it, and then I got a nice little body roll happening there. One thing that Mike Hayataka does is he balances on his palms a lot, and that helps him go from a balance to a body roll. It's a little bit easier to get to the chest, I think. I'm sure he can do it both ways, but it's a little bit easier to get to the chest from the palm. So if I was, doing a palm balance like this, and then, I roll it over here, got a balance going. And then I want to make sure that, we're not ever being culty here. Most of the hoop world balances on their palms. You totally can. There's nothing wrong with it. You get to sit at our table. But in HoopPath, a lot of times if you see somebody balancing on the back of their hand, at least a few years ago when I was touring, there was a good chance that they had learned it from me or, whatever. Because we always do the back of the hand. I just think it looks cool. That's really the main reason. But do whatever feels good to you. Palms, hand, back of the hand, both, forearms, Yeah, totally. And with the door knocker, I will say that the key to it, and you know how sometimes like somebody's teaching you something and they go, it's so simple, but it's so hard to get the simple thing. This is one of those times. The drop is really what's necessary. because if the hoop is not enough or it's going over your head, there's a good chance that your body is trying to do most of it with that swing, right? And I could maybe, in theory, like swing the hoop so hard that I wouldn't have to drop my hands. But if I drop my hands, then I really, make it easier. The physics of the universe come into play, and I drop. Getting that drop can be hard. Sometimes it's hard for people to just drop their hands. And so one thing you can do, we're a little bit more used to as humans to be able to duck, right? And so as I'm swinging the hoop out, I'm a duck, right? So you can almost imagine like you're catching it. And then, the thing is hard is like the better you get at it, the less it's emphasized, the less exaggerated the drop is. And so it kind of disappears to people's, when they're observing you do it. Maybe that's happening with me right now, but there is a drop that's happening for me. Oh, I should definitely say this. Balancing outside, even in the wind, is actually fun. If the wind is consistent or not, sweet. If the wind is consistent or not, it's awesome. At Burning Man, the wind would be so strong that I could balance the hoop. It was so cool. I could balance the hoop with a full lean. And, maybe if you live by a beach, you could experience this. But, if the wind is consistent enough, it's so cool to be outside because you can kind of like lean the hoop into the wind, and it's awesome. Like you'll have a balance that's maybe not 45, but and it's really cool. So don't let outdoor, and it grows your practice so much. It's like the more different conditions you can balance in. Like at first I had to only balance on skin, and then I got to where I could do thin clothing, and then I got to where I could do it with hoodies on, super thick stuff, and it grows, I don't have room in my little place to do head balances and things like that. They are a lot of fun. I never, there's infinite number of hoop things to get into, so you don't have to get into all of them. The head balance stuff is something that I just never really got into a whole lot, but I know loads of hoopers that do, and it's super meditative, so go for it. I'm assuming that it's probably, the one move that I did get, nobody will remember this, but the one move that I did get on, I got it on video and I posted it, but I was able at one point when I had high ceilings that I did do a catch into a head balance. I did like a, basically, definitely can't do it in here, but I threw the hoop up and then caught it in a balance on my head, and that was probably the geekiest, nerdiest balance move I ever spent time trying to do. I definitely was never money at it though. Like it was never something I was perfect at. There are fold hops you can do. I think I can do these in here. So I'm in bow right now. I'm gonna fold hop to the other hand. Just whoop. So these are hops, and this would be a fold hop. Oh yeah. Okay, this will be the last. This will be the last thing I'll say, and then we'll have to call it a day. Thank you guys for joining me. I will definitely be back Tuesday, and we'll probably do some more birthday celebrating. I know I promised a Zoom. I'm still working on that. It's just, yeah, you know, I'm not trying to get rich off this class. Anne wants me to promote it more and try to make it a bigger thing than just a few people that watch every week. But right now, going back to that balance thing, the work-life balance, I worked a couple months ago. I think y'all remember I worked really hard on the stream, and then when we moved in here and we got into HD, I moved really hard. And sometimes I just need to take a break from the technical stuff and just be able to come in here, you know, 30 minutes before class and power this on and get to teaching. But I do want to do a Zoom class. I've been paying for Zoom every month for like the last 2 years and never use it. So I do want to do a Zoom. We have the internet to do a Zoom. So like I know I made that promise, and I'm sorry. I just haven't been able to, you know, then we had these weird sound issues that I did figure that out. I know what I did wrong. As usual, it was just a button that needed to... Actually, it was drivers. Too many drivers I had on the computer. But anyway, yeah. So what was I... Oh, this was one little small trick. It goes back to 2-point. If you remember this 2-point move here, and then I think in the last class, one of the last classes where we were talking about 2-point, we talked about putting spin on the hoop from 2-point. So you push out with the bottom hand, pull back with the top hand, and that puts spin. And this is probably obvious, but sometimes the obvious needs to be shown first. But if you want to get into a hand walk and you need that momentum, you just can't seem to find the momentum to get the hand walk going, you can use this move to create a little bit of pull. Well, one, you can, you know, sometimes it's easier to get into a balance with a spin. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to spin the hoop and then put my hands up under it. And it kind of, because the momentum of the hoop is going to roll into my hands, and sometimes that can buy you some time to where you can find the balance. I can also use that move to create like a little bit more roll, right? So if I'm here, I'm going to balance it, put it into, or I'm not balance it, excuse me, I'm in 2-point, I'm going to put some spin on it and then stick my hands up under there. Maybe I'll get 2 or 3 of these before I run out of momentum. And then, you know, one cool way to come out of a balance is right back into 2-point. I'll show you. Spin, pop, 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 pop. Spin, pop, pop. Did I kill the music? Oh, I did. Oh, this is super chill. Okay. All right, y'all. I hope you got something out of this. I know this was super techy. A lot of times when I'm teaching solo, things get pretty techy, but hopefully this will give you sort of a balance of things to work with on balance. And I appreciate you joining in. And yeah, maybe we'll. I think actually I do need to fade to green. I got a bunch of stuff going on today. We're sorry we didn't hit quite the hour mark. But okay, cool. Sweet. All right, y'all. Thanks a lot. I think I will fade to green. Love you guys. I will be here Tuesday. Thanks for 5 years, y'all. I really appreciate that. And for whatever reason, the last class, the donations were a little bit higher than normal, and I really appreciate that. Oh, sweet. Sweet. Okay, cool. Cool. But, I never talk about donations, but they really do help, right? And, I hope you've seen that almost 100% of your donations go into gear. It's how I afford this hobby. I'm definitely not getting rich or paying bills with this money, but I have actually an account that just an unofficial account that I just take the donations and throw them into buying more stuff or tweaking stuff. We don't need to buy anything anymore, but you get it. But I'm actually, so anyway, your donations help to pay some of that back, and I love you guys. Anyway, we'll fade to green, and thank you.